Welcome to Porto-Campanhã, where today I will be taking a ride on the fantastic Douro Valley line to Pocinho. Like almost all trains in Portugal, this route is ran by the national operator, Comboios de Portugal. My train today will be the 0725 interregional service to Pocinho, departing from track 7. Journey time is nearly 3.5 hours and it's going to be a fantastic trip. As I don't have much time, let's head up to the train now. Today's train is formed of a CP 1400 series diesel locomotive. These small locos date back to the 1960s, with 67 examples of the fleet being built. A handful of them still remain in service to this day. Internally, they have a lot of similarities to the British Rail Class 20, with the first batch of 10 even being built by English Electric at Vulcan Foundry in the northwest of England. This is 1408, the only remaining British-built 1400 in active passenger service. The carriages on today's service were built by Schindler in Switzerland from the late 1940s. That's the company that makes lifts nowadays. The Schindler carriages have three main different types, these being third class with 2+3 bench style seating, second class with regular 2+2 seating, and first class with reversible 2+2 seats. These days all vehicles run as second class, so any combination of these can show up. Many of these carriages were withdrawn in past years, but due to a national rolling stock shortage in Portugal, they have been reactivated for frontline service on the Douro Valley line. It was soon time for the English electric engine to fire up and power the train out of Porto. We are now passing Pocinho. This hosts the main depot for railways in the north of Portugal, servicing both long-distance Pendolino trains as well as many of the local fleets. Also visible is another 1400 which will work today's 0925 service to Pocinho. Despite being one of the most scenic railway journeys I've ever taken, it doesn't quite start off like that, running through the outskirts of the city. Let's take this chance to have a look around the interior of this carriage. First off, the seating. The fabric design reminds me of the 1970s London transport fabric, and these seats were pretty comfortable for a regional train. I had no problems on my 3.5 hour trip thanks to a good amount of padding and support. The seats also have leather headrests. Also available are some small armrests either mounted to the wall or the edge of the seat. That's about it as far as the seats go on this train. Between the windows there are some coat hooks. And there is a sunblind for the window, but that definitely won't be getting much use on this journey. At the end of each carriage you can find the toilets. They're a little bit outdated, but by no means are they in poor condition. The sink is activated by a pedal found on the floor, which was a bit stiff. Soap is dispensed by twisting this nozzle. I never really understand these powder soap dispensers, they don't really seem to work. As an interregional service, we skipped many local stations on the line. However, we do stop at some of the more major ones, such as Paredes. This is Carriage station. Until July 2019, this was the end of the electrified Suburbano service from Porto, when it was extended a little further towards the Douro Valley to Marco de Canaveses. We are now leaving Livrasal. Up to 2009, this was the terminus of the now closed Tamega line, a meter gauge route that followed the course of the Tamega River to Arco de Baurri. Some remnants of the infrastructure are clearly visible here at Livrasal station. Sadly, in its 12 years of being closed, the line condition has deteriorated. I think it's far from likely that we will ever see this line in service again. Our train now heads towards the Douro Valley, which is of course the main feature of today's journey. Along the way we pass over some vineyards, which we will be seeing a lot of on the ride. This is Mosteiro, the first station call in the Douro Valley for this train. I love the style of smaller Portuguese stations, they just look so quaint. At this point, the scenery really started to pick up, and quickly too. Best of all, the morning fog had also subsided, allowing for a fantastic view of the Douro Valley. As you may have guessed by now, the doors on this train do not automatically close, allowing for a fantastic view from the doors. Likewise, the windows are of a fresh air style design in that you can fully open them due to the lack of air conditioning on these 70-year-old coaches. Being what is basically a branch line, many sections of the route are single track. Here's one such example of a passing loop at Ermida. Approaching now is the first train of the day from Pocinho to Porto. Let's go for a little walk through the train. First up, we have some wooden tip-up seats. I can't imagine they're the most comfortable. Through here it looks like we have someone shopping. And then another carriage with a different colour of seat. In the third and final carriage there is a former first class seating layout. Thanks to the rotating design of the seats, legroom in here is very generous. The ends of the first class carriages all feature some informational posters which give details about the route and the region. If you want to look at them, feel free to pause the video. At the very rear of the train you have the classic view out of the window, allowing for a panoramic look at the serene winding single-track Douro Valley line. We are now arriving into Gergua, the biggest city en route except Porto. Visible to the left is a pair of camellos, or camels, so named due to the air conditioning humps on the roof. These 40-year-old units were introduced to Portugal from Spain in 2011 to cover for the rolling stock shortage. Beware that some departures on this route will be operated with these units, and not this loco-hauled train. Here are the current formations, correct at the time of filming. To the left is the former course of the meter gauge Corgu line, running to Vila Real and Chaves. Like the Tamega line, this route shut in 2009 due to dwindling passenger numbers, poor maintenance and budget constraints. Dual gauge tracks ran as far as the small depot, however they have been removed since the line closed. This is Pinhão, one of the most picturesque station buildings en route in my opinion. Just look at the amazing mosaics on the walls of the station. Not before long, we were arriving into Tua. This was once home to another meter gauge line, the Tua line to Bragança. I would say this one probably has the lowest chance of reopening, with a substantial part of its route being submerged in 2016 as part of the controversial Foz Tua Dam project. The construction of this, as well as the fact one of the trains fell into the river, both contributed to the closure of the line in 2008. Despite this, one small section remained open as part of the Mirandela Metro, however this too shut in 2018 with plans to reopen it not yet coming to fruition. After what seemed like no time at all, the train was on the incredible final approach to Pocinho, where the line ends. Once upon a time, this line would have continued to Salamanca in Spain, however due to a lack of traffic this connection ceased in 1988. This left Pocinho as the line's terminus, as it remains to this day. Today's ticket costs just €20.10. This is for a return journey with my 25% youth discount. That gives a price per mile of about 8p, a truly fantastic deal for one of the most scenic trips I have ever been on using a really unique train. As far as tourist attractions go in Pocinho, there doesn't really seem to be much to do here. Heading up the hill, you can see the route of another meter gauge railway, the Sabor line to Duas Igrejas. This one shut earlier than the rest of the meter gauge lines on the Douro Valley, with passenger services becoming unreliable from the 1970s before finally ceasing altogether in 1981. Also visible is a derelict narrow gauge steam locomotive at the station. This one is E213, built in 1923 at Kassel in Germany. There is still one narrow gauge line left in Portugal, so if you are interested in seeing it, be sure to subscribe as I have a video upcoming on the Volga line. Thanks for watching my video on the Douro Valley line. It really was something quite special. Have you ever been on this line? If not, what is the most scenic route you've travelled on? Let me know in a comment. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, then subscribe to the channel for frequent uploads.